Orla, and I welcome the opportunity to speak. And as Fianna Fáil spokesperson on primary care and community services, I'll concentrate for the most part my contribution on the health service, but I'd also like to mention the issue around the tourism and the VAT rate, and also a brief comment on housing. Firstly, I understood that Minister Harris would be here, but I'm sure Ministers Kine and Cannon will be beating a track to his door in the morning to let him know what I have to say. I firstly welcome the 17 billion spend that is planned for the health service next year, and that puts us very high up in the OECD list for spend per capita, and that has to be welcomed. But Ministers, what we're not good at is getting value for the money that we spend. And if I saw a 700 million supplementary estimate coming across my desk, it should send alarm bells ringing in my ears. Some departments run on less than 700 million alone. And the reason for this is the total lack of accountability and governance that currently exists within the HSE. And we really need to get to grips with that. And what disappoints me most about the health budget is, from my reading of the figures, I can only see 20 million set aside for the implementation of Sláintecare. And I really believe that Sláintecare is the blueprint by which we can go and improve our health services. And I'm not looking for more money to be spent on Sláintecare as an add-on to the budget. I'm asking that we would look at how we spend our money a little bit better. And something, Minister, that I'd really ask you to look at, and something that I've personally had an issue with for some time, and it's one example of how we do business in the HSE, and we could do it a lot better. If you take the home care package and the fair deal package, both those budgets are in separate silos. So if an elderly person comes out of hospital, presents at the community health nurse and is looking for home care, they will fight on their knees to get maybe 10 hours, won't get weekend support, and often won't get enough to keep their elderly relative at home. The recommendation from the community health nurse will be to go and look at the fair deal option. Many families will do that, they will get accepted to fair deal, and that's where their loved one will go into a nursing home. Now, the cost to the state for a fair deal is approximately $1,000 a week, low water. The cost to the state for keeping somebody at home would be probably half that, I'm sure a good bit less. So if one department was dealing with them two budgets together, you would automatically get better value for money. And I just do not understand how the HSE sometimes operate with the way they spend their money. Another issue is e-health rollout. Anytime I've gone into hospital with a relative, you will get the triage nurse taking the information, 15 minutes. You'll get a junior health nurse doing the same. You'll get the junior doctor, the house officer and the consultant. Anything up to 5 people getting the same information, and a waste of an hour of man hours. One person gets the information electronically and sends it out to everybody else, and you have an automatic saving. Primary care rollout and the new GP contract. I welcome, and I hope it's true, the fact that the GP contract and the reversal of FEMPI for GPs is back on the table. And we need a new GP contract to deliver Sláintecare, and we need a new GP contract to keep and attract new GPs. Currently, the IMO are negotiating. There is another body out there, the NAGP, who represent many doctors, and they're not at the negotiation table. And the department tolerate that. I mean, why they just don't get told to knock their heads together, get around the table, sort out the contract, work together. I just don't understand it. I mean, this protectionism that goes on, unacceptable and needs to be sorted out. And my own profession, Minister, the pharmacy profession, hugely underutilised and haven't really got a lot to offer the health system. they all suffered FEMPI cuts as well. And there's been no talk about their reversal. And I'm asking that pharmacists be treated with the same dignity and respect as all other healthcare professionals. Issues around minor ailments, vaccinations, women's health issues. The pharmacy profession have a huge amount to offer and are hugely underutilised. And I know that Minister Harris himself has a personal interest in pharmacy, and I would ask that that be looked at and built on. And I'm not sure if Minister Harris realises the opportunity he has around Sláintecare. It's an all-party report, full buy-in by every party in the Oireachtas. So delivering it and implementing it, and we're talking over a 10-year period, will have the full backing of this chamber. It's an ideal opportunity. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for a Minister for Health. And I'm not sure if Minister Harris quite understands that opportunity. I'm sure he does. I hope he does. Because if we can begin to implement it and begin to get a bit of confidence back in our health service, then we might begin to solve it. And we'd all be working together. So it's very easy for me to come in here and start quoting, you know, waiting times and trolley crisis and all that. But that's not going to solve anything. And, you know, I think most members in this chamber are interested in sorting out the health service, and there's an opportunity there, and I hope it's taken. The second issue I want to cover, Ministers, is the VAT at 13% on our hospitality. The argument is lost. I fought very hard to keep it at 9%, particularly being from Kerry, a hugely dependent tourism county. But I would ask that a quarterly review be carried out, and I've said this to Minister Griffin today, starting from now till the end of the year, going from January to April or May, and going from May through the summer, to see what impact it has on the industry. And if we are losing jobs and we are losing visitor numbers, then the net impact of the 13% will actually be a loss of revenue to the state. And if it is, as I fear and as the industry fear and as we've been pointing out, if that happens, then reverse it. There's no point in pursuing a policy that's actually going to cost us all money and cost us all jobs and valuable employment. I obviously welcome the 40 million extra spend in tourism and would ask that it be spent wisely, particularly on the development of our walkways. And in Kerry, I want to mention three in particular: the Tralee to Feenit, the county bounds in Limerick into Listowel, and the South Kerry Greenway. Three huge projects that have my 100% backing. And I'm not saying one thing to one person and another thing to another person. I'm not saying one thing to the farming organisations. I support these projects 100%. They are bigger than any one organisation or any one individual, and they need to be brought across the line. And the last issue I want to touch on, Ministers, is housing. I welcome the 300 million to be invested in the affordable housing scheme, something that Fianna Fáil very much promoted. And the increased spend, I hope, will bring delivery of units. For far too long we've heard the excuse that you can't deliver it overnight, but overnight is now 4 or 5 years. But I really do hope that the renewed effort will deliver on our much under stress housing issue. And Minister English, as you're there, the HAP and RAS, in 2016 we spent 230 million on both those schemes, acquiring about 36,000 units. But they're all temporary solutions. And I just had a look, like, for 230 million, you'd borrow at today's rates about 1.2 billion. You'd service a 1.2 billion loan every year with that money. And for 1.2 billion, you'd build 38,000 houses. So a refocusing of our efforts on building units will free up, and then that will have an effect on the private market, and the rent pressures will ease. So there really is an opportunity there that we need to work on. And before I came over to the chamber, I listened to my colleagues in Sinn Féin Deputy Callanan, tear strips out of Fianna Fáil for their housing policy. And it was mentioned today by the Taoiseach, but on Monday night, a 1,000-house development in Dublin, a mixture of social, affordable and private, was voted against by Sinn Féin. And as far as I'm concerned, you can't run with the hare and hunt with the hound. You can't be all things to all people. And whatever you want to say about Fianna Fáil, we're not afraid of a difficult decision. We're not afraid of responsibility. And unfortunately, as far as I'm concerned, Sinn Féin can get off the pitch when it's talking about housing, because you will not make a difficult decision and you will not deliver one house. The politics of hypocrisy, I just won't listen to it. And Minister, to finish up, the decline of rural Ireland. I agree. I don't like hearing about the decline of rural Ireland as if it's happening everywhere. There are issues in rural Ireland. I live there. But constantly talking it down is not serving the purpose of rural Ireland. All you have to do is look at census, see where populations are growing, and in the vast majority of areas of rural Ireland, the populations are growing. And you mightn't have 20 small shops. You have 2 shops, large shops, employing probably more people than the 20 shops that they replaced. That's the way the world has gone. So while we have our issues in rural Ireland, and I will fight on my feet to retain as many services as we can, I really am a bit tired of some TDs, particularly those in my own county, talking down my county, because Kerry and other rural counties are very fine places to live, and as long as we work and deliver projects for each of the counties, they will remain that way. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Deputy.